The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 4, Service. Now, this was an interesting episode. This was our special 90-minute episode. I have no idea why it ended up being a 90-minute episode instead of a normal 60-minute episode. But it was enjoyable. I thought they did some good stuff. Ultimately, I thought it was a lot like the 90-minute season finale we had last season, where it was like, I felt like they could have taken some stuff out because it seemed like there wasn't much that happened. It definitely had some really great moments to it, and it was just, with it being 90 minutes, even though I felt like, ultimately there wasn't much to it outside of Negan sucks, and hey, here's him sucking even more. So outside of that, it was like, there's random stuff where I'm like, I guess this could have been taken out or that could have been taken out, but when I really look at it as a whole, I think it works perfectly. I thought it was a really good episode, and it all, I felt, served a really great purpose, as it went through, even, like the stuff with Michonne and stuff that seemingly could have been taken out as just, those random couple of minutes, like her, practicing with the sniper rifle. At first it seems kind of useless because it's like, oh, well, she's practicing, clearly she sucks at it in the beginning, and then, she doesn't even get to have the sniper rifle by the end of the episode, so she can't keep practicing. But it all has a purpose. Like it goes through and she's hunting and she ends up shooting the deer by accident. And they take the deer. And so with her having that sort of training thing where she's just going out, even without the gun, she ends up going out. And initially, because it was the end of the episode, I thought there would be a little thing where she lied to Rick and she did have extra guns hidden. But it was more important than that. It was, this is the place she went to practice, so she just happened to go back there again. But it led to something much greater where by the end of this episode, after all the madness that they caused these people, of course with the murders at the beginning, and then now it's just, we're coming in to get our goods earlier than intended, and we're going through houses, we're taking whatever food we like, taking all the weapons, which makes no sense. Like, it makes sense because it's like, oh, of course we don't want you guys fighting back in any way, shape, or form, and then it's at the same time, it's like, well, if you really want people to be able to build food up for you or any sort of supplies, really, you need them to have something. Like, they need to have weapons. You can't just be an idiot like this and take all these people. There's like over a dozen of these people go out and everyone else is kind of, for all intents and purposes, useless because none of those people travel outside of the walls. So you have our group plus a couple of new characters that actually travel outside of the walls. All of their guns are gone. The only people that have guns at this point are, I think there are only two people, and both of them are off, on their own little mission right now. And I would assume they have guns just because, but everyone's guns are gone. So they take everyone's guns and stuff, and all this madness they go through, and the threats and everything. And they take beds, they take all this stuff, and we get to the end of this episode, and Michonne sees this smoke, and she's, prepared to fight. She's going, hand on the hill and everything. And it's just all their mattresses burnt out. All that stuff that they did, this, service that they're providing them. And all of that, they don't even need it. They took the supplies just to take them. They didn't even take them, because I was, of course, like anyone, it's like, oh, these people suck. They're taking their mattresses and stuff to sleep on. And they don't even do that. They took it just because. And Michonne sees that, and it just makes it so much worse. It's like they're already being taken advantage of. They're already reeling from an insane amount of just devastation, with the deaths. And it's just crazy. They go through all this stuff, and they have all their stuff taken, and it's not even utilized. It's just gone. It's useless now. It's useless to the entire world. That stuff is just there. Unless someone uses it for packing or something. They cut all those beds open and, mattresses open and start taking the insides out. They're useless now. They just made a pile and just burnt them all up just because. And it shows that level of just evil and insanity of the saviors. And that's what's so great about this episode. We have, going all the way through, and it starts at the very beginning too. They come in, and pretty much the first thing Negan does when he sees Rick is like, oh, I take care of the zombie for you. I don't freak out. I don't kill this guy. I'm nice to him. He asks who I am and everything, which is very disrespectful. But I'm a nice guy. He does that like ultra dickish thing, which is captured perfectly from the comic books. And it just starts off with that. And then, of course, the whole episode, he has Rick holding on to Lucille. And it's just crazy. Just going through the whole situation. And then, of course, Daryl's actually in this episode. And, you know, they have it was like closer to the end of the episode. And Negan's like, you know, you want him to come back. And, you know, it kind of went above and beyond to prove that, you know, I'm in charge. So if he'll make his case, then I'll let him come back. And Daryl decides not to, because he's kind of just staying strong. You know, he knows that if he makes a plea or anything like that, considering he's already shown his level of strength, if he does anything to say, I want to be with them, or anything like that, I want anything good for the people I care about, he knows that Negan will have him, because he'll be like, oh, well, now that you've decided to talk or say anything, you know, to help yourself or your friends, now I guess we can start going through some other things. So he kind of keeps his mouth shut, and it's like he knows that even if he said something as simple as, I want to stay here, it would just lead to one of those crazy impossible situations. Like, well, if you stay here, I gotta have somebody else go. And now, you know, there's no option. It's like he won't let Daryl come back. It's like, no, you wanted to stay. Because that's how crazy Negan is. He probably would have done that. He would have been like, oh, okay, well, you're stuck here now. You don't get to come back. But someone else has to come in your place. Someone who isn't prepared for all the crazy torture that they're going to experience. You know, stuff like that. So, you know, it was just very interesting how they played that scene. And, you know, they started things off in the beginning of the episode with the fake death, of course, for Maggie, which I thought was pretty cool. And it was a way to kind of, you know, protect her and keep her safe. And he's like, oh, you know, I was going to ask her to come back and, you know, come back with me. But I guess, you know, all the devastation kind of, you know, killed her over. So I was like, all right, that was a cool way to do that. I knew she wasn't dead. Just in general, that would just be a dumb way to kill a character. But it's like, okay, it's obvious that was kind of a fake thing. And they even mentioned it, you know, kind of like right after that. But I like what they did. I thought that was really cool. And of course, the next episode with the promo is going to focus on the hilltop, which should be pretty exciting. But just going through all this insanity, they're taking all their weapons and everything like that, and they have to go through this crazy hunt, or, you know, Olivia's going to get killed. And then we have the dude, I never remember this guy's name. I never cared about him. And I'm not going to lie, even in the comics, I never cared about this character. He was just, he's almost exactly like he is in the comic books, and he's just the kid of the former leaders. And it's just like, I don't really care about this dude in any way, shape, or form. Has his cool little moments here and there, but for the most part, I couldn't possibly care less. So he's mad at Rick, and honestly, I thought he was dead in this episode. He came back. I thought he was going to be mad and say something to Negan about, you know, how Rick shouldn't be the leader or something like that. And I thought he was dead. I thought somebody was dying because of this promo scene, how they were looking down. There's a scene with Rick where he looks distraught. I was like, crap, I think Negan killed somebody else. So that didn't end up happening, which I was kind of surprised by. But I feel like that's what's going to happen. I think at some point, he's either going to confront Rick, and Rick is going to end up killing him, because he already pissed him off at the end, where he's like, you know, we're all better now, and I guess Glenn and Abraham are better off now, too. And they had just like a crazy badass moment for Rick, too. They don't even show the front of his face. It was just the back of his head, and he was just like, he doesn't even do like the half turn or anything. He basically stops, and he's just not looking at the camera. It's just look at his head move as he talks. And it's just like, if you ever say that again, I'll kill you. And he's like, do you understand? And then he told him, he's like, say yes. He's like, yes. And then he kept walking. I was like, dang, that's probably the most badass thing I've ever seen Rick do, honestly. Even all the stuff we've seen him do, I was like, that was probably the most badass thing he's ever done. Because it was almost evil, but it wasn't, because he was in the right for telling him, like, you know, don't ever say that again, because that was a really dick move, just because he's mad. It's not like Rick made the saviors and he's talking about, you know, we should have made a deal beforehand and stuff like that. And they'd be in the exact same situation, you know, and it's not like he, you know, knew Glenn or Abraham that well anyway. So it's just like, it's not like he lost anybody that he was super, super close to. But I just love that moment there. But they also have Rosita, who has an important role in this episode, where she and the other dude who I don't care about, they go out and they have to find Daryl's motorcycle because Dwight is like trying to be a clone or something. I don't know what his deal is. He's just like, I want everything that Daryl has. So he sent them out to get the motorcycle, and Rosita has the really awesome idea to take out the zombified version of some of the people that came and attacked her and Daryl, and sadly I can't remember the other girl's name because I forget everybody's name. But she finds, one of them, and she takes out a bunch of them, and she's able to get a gun. Unfortunately, it's empty, but because Negan is an absolute psycho, and he shoots off that one bullet, she has a shell casing, so, by the end of the episode, she finds it, and she takes it, and it's like, hey, Eugene, make me a bullet. So I thought that was really cool, and, it kind of goes with kind of the new opening for this, which I didn't notice. Like, honestly, I didn't even notice this through any of the other episodes, but in the opening now, they have a part, and I think it's Josh McDermott, I believe. That's probably a totally different person, but the guy who plays Eugene, when his name comes up, it shows like a little factory and stuff, so I think that'll really be his place. Like, he'll be making bullets and stuff like that. They won't kind of get rid of that idea, which makes a lot of sense because that seems to be falling in line with the comics, but you never really know. But considering it's in the actual opening sequence, I assume that that's going to be the case. And someone else's name came up, and I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was Alana Masterson, who is one of the characters, and I can never, like I said, I don't remember her name, but she's the one who's off on the mission right now. Her thing came up with like a boat, so I don't know if that means we're going to be seeing a lot of like some seaside type stuff during this season, or at least one episode is going to focus on that, because we haven't seen them yet, and I know that's a part of the season. We get to see their mission with them being away from like all the chaos. They have no idea what's going on, so that seemed interesting. There's some stuff with the boat, and I was like, what does that mean, for the series? But I enjoyed this episode. They did some good stuff. Rosita kind of doing everything she can to try to make some crazy stuff work. So hopefully, this one bullet is, of course, the start. And who knows if they're going to test that out, or, what the case is going to be. If she's going to test the bullet, it's like, okay, you did that right, so here's the casing again. Now make me another bullet. Or what the case is going to be with that. But she now has a gun. Everyone in Alexandria now knows, as Rick put it, he's not in charge, the saviors are, specifically Negan is. And that's just how things are going to be for now. They just have to gather supplies, and gather a bunch of supplies, and then give them, to the saviors and do what they can. But I thought this was a good episode. It was a great episode as far as, like I said, just Negan's a dick, and here's Negan being an ultra dick. Whole episode, 90 minutes of just dickness. And I didn't think they'd do this either. But the very end of the episode, when Negan and the Saviors leave, and Negan goes up to Rick and he's like, in case you haven't realized, I just slipped my dick down your throat and you thank me for it. I didn't think they'd put that in there. I was kind of waiting for that because that was like the crazy thing he said in the comics as well. And it was just like, wow. Like, that was straight from the comics. It was him saying, like, tell me thank you and stuff like that for everything that we've done. Because it was just like that in the comics, where it's like, oh, they killed like one freaking zombie. He's like, see, that could have destroyed a bunch of you guys, but I take care of that because I care about you guys. So it was just spot on with everything he is in the comic books, which is why I love this adaptation. I think this is probably the closest they've done any adaptation so far of the comic storylines. Like, they've done the locations like perfectly 100%, but I feel like this is pretty much the perfect thing. It's kind of going exactly in line with everything, exactly as it happened. Character deaths slightly different, with the Abraham and Glenn stuff. It was one extra death because of Abraham, but it's almost going perfectly in line. Like, just everything is happening almost exactly as it did before. Minus the death in the camp so far. I'm pretty sure that was during their first visit, so that may or may not happen. There may or may not be some deaths in the camp because of Negan. I don't know how they're really going to play it, but I don't know. Things are crazy. They've switched so many characters around. It's like, I don't know if, I think the person that Negan even killed is already dead. I think it was the husband that didn't like Rick. I think he was still alive during this point, and Negan actually ended up killing him in the comic books. So I believe that's who it was. I really can't remember. It was either him or it was the son, but I think it was the husband that didn't like him because Same stuff as the comic actually, but I don't know. I'm enjoying this so far. I'm loving Negan as the villain. Next episode, we actually get to focus on the hilltop, and so we get to see Maggie. Um, we get pretty much everybody. I guess all the hilltop, characters. So we get Maggie, Jesus, whatever the leader guy's name is, and we also get Sasha, of course. Two of them and took the bodies up. So we'll see how that plays out when we have the Saviors go visit them, and it seems it's the right hand man who ends up going to visit the hilltop. So I'm curious to see how that's going to turn out because the leader there, based on the promo, he's pretty mad at Rick because, like he said, you guys would take care of him, and now look at this, they're just worse. So he's gonna be mad. I would assume at Maggie and Sasha a bunch because like you're a part of that group that was supposed to like make everything perfect, and they haven't. So we'll see how that plays out. I think he's gonna be a little upset, and much like Rick dealing with his Alexandria thing, where it's like, oh, you're supposed to be this epic leader who sucks. I think they're gonna have the same experience at the hilltop, except Maggie and Sasha are gonna have to deal with the leader telling them they suck because they didn't, do everything perfectly. So, see how it all turns out. But I certainly like this one. Negan's an a-hole, and I'm just excited to see how far this season goes with the Negan storyline because there's so much there. I'm hoping it's not all done in this one season. As much as I would love to see it all happen right now, there's just too much for them to have just one season of it. So I'm excited to see where they take it. But definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And rather than guessing what's coming next, I want to know what we have so far outside of the murders, because that would be the obvious choice. What is the craziest scene that you've watched with Negan in it? Like, what's the craziest thing you think he's done outside of the murders? Because of course that would be the obvious answer. But second to that, what would be your favorite scene? Would it be him faking around, messing around with Rick and acting like he's gonna have him cut Carl's arm off? Is it pretty much this whole episode I felt was just like one long journey of him just effing with all of Alexandria? And then of course we have all the stuff he did with Daryl and the stuff he did with Dwight. Even finding that story out, I'm sure it kind of blew some people's minds. So I want to know what you think has been the craziest scene so far with Negan in it. Like I said, outside of the murders. And of course I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.